shipping to you, so you shouldn't really need to do anything.
I got you.
Alright, appreciate it. Good luck, Josh.
Thank you.
Good luck,
Ethan. Thank you.
Give a good round for the YouTube.
Okay, I'll get the what you see sent out in a second. Sorry, my laptop is literally dying right now. You're good.
They have a whole day to record this. I think they can afford to fly out there. I've got to do that as a result. Thanks for the loser.
The non-advancing quarterfinalist, please and thank you.
My bad, Dave.
Seriously, I said that once. I walked into it was like not a bid circuit tournament, but I was like, this award is for the student that loses the debate, and received so much angry feedback about that.
That's fair.
They're like, none of these children are losers, which is true. Like, yeah, like all in
Not like an ontological sense, but in like a very like specific proximal sense here. Like yes, definitionally one of them is.
Everyone in this round has.
Everyone in this round is a winner and has won debate and has earned a bid with
It should
TSC.
be celebrated.
Exactly.
There will be an advancing semifinals.
Yeah.
Best of luck to all of you.
Wait, Ryan, your email is rrn.debate@gmail.com.
Yeah. Are we doing an email chain?
Yeah.
Oh, thank
God,
God.
did you just
Actually,
yes.
Actually, oh my God.
I'm so
Speech drop.
I hate it so much. It's so bad.
Hopefully you don't forget to add anyone.
What's that? What's speech trap?
I
have to like go find the.
it makes scouting a
I
nightmare.
just look up the
Like
email.
I can go to my email and I can Google Loyola round 2, or I can look up Loyola round 2, and I can know what was read in that debate. So someone can like I can.
But
send stuff
speech
to
drop
the
is
scouting.
faster. It means that people can't steal prep because you know that.
Which is
you know if they're like,
Yeah.
oh, the email won't send. I don't know.
You're like the email won't send. Sorry.
Bro, that gives me flashbacks to round 1.
This motherfucker. The email chain wasn't working, and so
Yeah,
I had
Pat's
to,
USB
I had to whip out my flash drive, which I still have on me. Still carry this on me from like back in high school. Yeah, this is my 10th year in debate board.
Wow.
Yeah, I'm an old man. I started doing debate when I was 12 years old and I'm 22.
You
Do you count speech in Congress?
No, that count. Debate event says debate.
Yeah, Edith, you added B to the
Yeah.
LD, policy,
Okay.
PF when I get debate.
Yeah, I did PF on some bad days. So.
Oh wait, no one. Does Yesh have a stand?
I have a stand.
You have a stand? Okay.
The legs and
You also probably use that podium if you really want it.
Yeah.
The podium.
Probably
I think
not-
this is better.
Probably not as, yeah.
Where's the person you're debating?
Hmm?
Where's
Oh, the bathroom.
They went to the bathroom.
Oh yeah, wait, where the hell is Yesh?
Wait, Naranjan, the stand is broken.
Yeah, you can't extend the legs.
What did you do? Wait, why does this one have like 3 things sticking out?
Don't worry, that's a leg from a different stand.
What? Dude, Naranjan, wait, the table's gonna be uneven.
It is, yeah.
Just like Scooby-Doo music playing in the background of all this shit in my head.
Oh, no, we're good.
What?
No, that's like visibly like kind of jank.
Okay. I just have to hope my laptop does not crash for like. These water
You should put the stand like on this table.
on which table?
The one turned towards you.
Oh, you're right. You know, my laptop is missing like the rubber things at the bottom, so it's just gonna slide off.
The round started 3 minutes ago. 5 minutes ago. Go, send it. Let's do it.
Advantage what is governance progress assault and SCG fellow actions get global progress paper 23 years ago SCG by quantities stock anti sorry global progress with the logical global progress global housing activity secretary role office SCG US for let's go global solutions go city goal action with partnership natural commitment pursue SCG for spread global US solution for property corruption democracy coming in body so new versions of logic academic movies for customer the US sphere has global officer rights based approaches key group to 20 inches open SCG reduce cities for handing government service finally global progress when activity for reconnected society SCG lars missing natural SCG super investment recognized rights global laws is body for global development US speed with the Western plus the right housing is a missing piece, actions, words, research, and analysis, swelling up to part of Momentum, 2021, as a constitution of human capacities, for implementation of the strategies as commissary for acting, in analysis, and indicators, right, housing, directly, also need ICT for which is what you have an HDA building, but which is well social, there's an asset jobs, income to improve, so I know so what you for sustainable cities is key to every ICT, 2021 is here, trying to look at housing, reduce vulnerability, social health, climate disasters, and housing, vulnerable diseases, housing, frontline, against corporate right powers, now represents gender equality, participation, water, integral to water work solutions such as digital physical content, poverty factors, green, affordable housing, green, building supports, job creation, climate goals, increase labor infrastructure, and able to meet events and development of green in industries, disaster effective 4 billion interventions contributing to restoration of areas, low carbon housing, building resiliency, distractions, and development, and quality growth, and models of participation, access to housing are important for all of our governments. SDG, self-extinction, housing, employer, obvious freedom, 20 health, global alignment, SDG, disaster, cyber, data, climate, water, crisis, emergencies, economic, well-being, achieving SDG, reduce access of targets, rain, energy, resolve, georeactive time, what it means to suppose more likely series of events, culminating stations, suppose one about the still plan United States to guarantee the right to housing. We've inserted CSA, the plan solves in mosquito avoids convention, HR Trinity uses for constitutional maximized domestic problem policy, laws and individuals in the US force and grants the way to accommodate community policy demands, the need to start more housing, countries must students local governments uses to pay easy right legislative action defining countries with the right to remove barriers to affordable housing and additional interventions such as subsidies to supply and economic right disaster and sufficient single 20 right to some perfect housing for homeless human subject there are subject to progressive realization obligations let's say dismantle barriers of counties around natural government intervene the economic progression such as HR resolving housing costs are like for the result of inefficient supply and insufficient supply is necessary to take an academic purchase money decisions make such in an affordable time consuming solution that peace supply should be welcomed in solutions to reproductive direct control decrease supply this not a solution to affordability advantage to is economic prices of serving interconnecting versus in very 23
Clear.
housing is grappling with affordability crisis mortgage rates surge with the average 30-1 at 7.09% serving prices resulted in affordability plummeting loss observed in 1980 affordability despite being removed concerns about inflation hitting out for the rate hike due to further rate hikes real estate is a significant risk factor higher prices cause rate hikes lacking and so the party 23 home prices on the rise complicating inflation demand obvious supply and having to increase rates for the beneficial state shelter cost support for resistance and home prices over price market bottom out we're going to pose an upside raise key driver start shortage in supply still supremacy and home sold to a 5-month low demand still steady people by government necessity we have zero head and the plans get removing zoning restrictions H1 22 rate office for research to have housing lists and housing supply knows those who move their communities to reduce backlash and elimination rate for women financial and strong assistance to martial business community organizations having powerful enforcing protections restrictions cost trillions of unproductive spending low income 1 social cities socially popular rent cost revolution 3 states losing rules in total GDP 8.9% higher supply made houses scarce and have affordable rents have more homes has agreed to land roots housing not even determines ultimate quality the plan has wide ranging benefits that impact every sector ways to determine eliminating zoning coverage ranging benefits to seed anything will save the entire economy reduces lower growth 30 society disaster created with fluctuations connections all to damage as what become fixed bubbles become catastrophic it saves 500,000 per or 50,000 per person compared to 22 housing got 8% from cost save 50,000 per person wasn't having the goal of buys variety housing cut cost by more than half spend millions of every person's hospitals 80% of total cost of time growth key to avoid emerging mockballs extinction dash murder 20 because it's script seasonal purposes on a work for their build optimal path reasons will lead to care about burning to hospital leases this lease has a rate exposure to define cyber further trees rating of fatal catastrophe human capacity period with tech catastrophe we may be advanced enough to create certain destruction not enough to decrease the risk of economic leadership threats China escalation but it's raising the now pulsing China has a certain leadership to world economy certain capabilities China the US and had love this analysis for the US is losing questions parties on the time to de-integrate many deep chain with China the US largest partner the competition goods home the US is superior must be brought through results to be devastating economic leadership dominance has forward that leadership solves existential threats to urban 20 health coming cyber great power job food water power supply the US is under pretty an economy that prevent these governments goal prevent economic disaster supply chain skill production the US most powerful economy that's safe for China's strength goes ability to exploit defense to New Zealand's coercion fast growth is key prevent escalation and collapse transferring to acknowledge China was making some visible China factors somebody's in charge order China like but not countries social policy she is going to be just capturing one and trying to take risks the US has performed defense for China low organizing economic blocks the LEOs and benefit folder for right 20 or extended where equal offset and logical destruction and class of the arms and tech biotech can be secret having a health same type of less companies democracies meaning global cooperation committed we have to escape on present war global order freedom was promised here in history possible of order we represent continue it will comes in honor present word for new emergencies the species will not itself also take over civilization the decline causes transition words for represent about the 1860 case with one person per town told in a capacity of labor is not whole research but not the scope of new agency over superior so words are coming 30% humans become 20 times as well to find display radio apologies places with US multi-right centuries were in the US order framework extinction was extinction always from 15 future people in order to using as number business because was important choice of punishment is not consequential wasn't the view there's more than consequences not the view of life it's a matter of jail for two others you're with promoting because applies strong reason to risk won't say agreement minimally possible strong reason. Governments must act because they don't have intentions or constantly deal with general pleasure, pain, or technically valuable. They restrict action and reasons for action in and of themselves. You know, for states, and some choose among consequences of various possibility of attributing interest and more significant consideration for your witty state action. The goal for side must be undertaken not have intended for governance of social relations, interest, autonomous lives, or reason, there's a possibility like individual anticipation, use empathy, and entangled care, offers empathy, and the social autonomy, which has lived the question whether we have capacity and the social wanting some heard, sense of purify, and for pacifist not violent, decolonize and purchase self-violence and potentials of human communities to see how we can learn to several communities, creative, intellectual change that reading, so ethical ideas for several organizing, template, across the change of focus, but literature can appear respect on our business creation will tend to distance. But be willing to vote on small race to large farms, middle 17 of this piece of script, reason to believe acting is race within states were often more dangerous, large more, worth the difficult with the absolute level of rational of every human. We even have a big 100+ experience, much as with political decisions, they should be taken seriously. It was possible to accountable within an atmosphere of 3 million, the industrial revolution that profit vast years of century after century, we run small bears, we were bound to lose. I didn't read the last card.
The first, yes.
Yeah.
SDGs. 1AC PIPA says that Biden needs to make a public commitment to SDGs. How does the plan do that?
It doesn't say that. It doesn't say that Biden specifically has to make
an unambiguous public pledge by President Biden to pursue
Okay.
major progress.
The affirmative. Our argument is that the affirmative is seen as the United States pledging to achieve SDGs by reversing the trend of the U.S. not committing by guaranteeing the right to housing.
Wait, you think that the right to housing somehow leads to a public pledge, somehow leads to commitment to SDGs? Like, I'm confused as to how.
Right. So this public
step
pledge
one
is
to step
figurative. Like, as obviously, like federal action toward SDGs is seen as like a pledge to achieve SDGs.
But I guess I'm confused about what piece of 1AC evidence you read, because it seems to be that your link to SDGs is like, there needs to be credibility to U.S. leadership, and people need to pursue the plan as being in line with SDGs. I'm confused as to what piece of 1AC evidence indicates that.
Well, the next Trula card and both the Gupta card and the next two Trula cards talk about how the right to housing is necessary for U.S. governance. It allows for things like sustainable development and is in line with a lot of SDGs.
But that's like what I'm saying. This evidence seems to say that it contributes to SDGs, but your uniqueness evidence, or like your impact evidence, seems to be saying that people need to perceive it as being in line with SDGs, and the United States needs to publicly commit to it. I'm asking where the AF does that.
Right, the affirmative publicly commits to SDGs by recognizing a right to housing and embedding American values in SDGs, i.e., like it's seen as U.S. buy-in to SDGs, which spills over and gives SDGs credibility.
Okay, that's fine. Advantage to the economy. I guess economic leadership prevents Chinese escalation. How?
So our argument is that like U.S. leadership is necessary to prevent China from like China interdependence, or like it's necessary to prevent China from exploiting dependence, and also make sure countries are aligned with the United States against China, which prevents like things like transition wars.
But I guess I'm asking how economic independence or economic leadership does that.
Right, so economic leadership is necessary for things like allies, it's necessary for things like sanctions, etc. Sanctions, etc., and making China dependent on the United States so it does not start wars.
Okay, that's fine. The LIO is an impact filter. I guess can you explain that?
So the LIO is an impact filter. Our argument is that the United States has like trade with other countries. China is working to break that down through things like BRICS and like trying to like overturn the U.S.-led order. That
what piece
collapses.
of 1AC evidence says the second part of that?
Sorry.
What piece of 1AC evidence says the second part of that, i.e. China is trying to prevent LIO or like LIO multilateral agreements?
The brands evidence.
Okay, this card says that the U.S. should prevent China from weaponizing economic leverage. I guess I'm confused as to where this card says China is a threat to LIO stability.
It says that China is unlikely to be benign or peaceful. History has seen many once ascendant countries lash out violently.
I'll start. Stop card I used. How much did I use? Did you turn it?
I had like 15 seconds.
I used?
Yeah.
Okay, cool. The order is 4 of these.
Case advantage 1, 2.
Framing advantage 1, 2.
Okay, cool.
Wait, sorry, how many off is it?
4.
4?
Okay. Do you have a stand?
This is no rounded stand.
Oh, can I
You
use
use
it?
it.
Cool.
Just go like, no.
I desperately always wanted to see that happen in the debate, kind of, just to see how people would react.
Anyone not good?
Oh, yeah, the stand's a little unstable.
That's cool. Okay.
I'd use it anyway.
Assert
And
dominance.
then read the property rights scheming.
Impact
Okay.
things.
Anyone not good? Okay, cool. Loyola VCA TV has upheld the strength of property rights, eviction moratorium to League 21 Supreme Court released an opinion holding that the CC lack authority to impose an eviction moratorium that cover the country into not cover no time relationships as institutional domain of law, even publicly authorized moratorium can become the cause of granting permanent evicting tenants in 2000 was under analogous appropriation. The right to live and eviction or finish under property owners' right to sue commercial defense or right to housing is used to justify right to housing is used to justify eviction moratoriums. Eviscerating landowners' right to property. 3.714 legislation defines the right to housing as the right to enact and enforce eviction and use security of tenant means that landlords will no longer be able to evict tenants for any reason, perhaps even including non-payment of rent or property owner can evict them if they don't go to invest or aren't going to make repairs. To housing make housing stock less adequate, such as discouraging housing investment. Our right to housing causes a domino effect, allowing the government to go on a power trip. Deuteronomy 13 aim of the Constitution is to limit government to absence of social rights and accord with history, cause the rights and power of government to vote without limiting fairness between rights. Every act must be done in power to specify the Constitution not provide a right to everything. Housing might not. Our Constitutional right to continue its improvement is guaranteed. The government has unlimited power to define and pursue improvement. The Constitution self-serving the limits of the communities to restrain cause the rights. Lose their right to home government, build public housing, and not leave landlord by start by using eminent domain to claim people rights as the public use of property of the previous landowner's property rights to be so away. The unknown has a right to cause the rights serve as a guidepost for power, not limits. Property rights are the fundamental basis for agricultural productivity. George 21. Stable property rights are an incentive for economic development through increased goods. Rural communities depend on ownership. One industry is agriculture without recognized property rights or resources. Farmers have the ability to control the resources ownership are lacking, like do not mean industry at all. One of the most essential the right to exclude government cannot create a right of access for the general public on private property. The right to exclude is essentially important in the agricultural industry and the individual use of the guys and the rights of justification property rights vitally important for the agricultural industry. That goes global. Their trust and radiation depend on the U.S. for grain imports when the U.S. to supplement their own harvest food supplies are expected to shrink what happens to use supplies and manufacture around the world. As foreign soybeans anticipate the price of all grains or higher price for food rights in 2000 countries surge, resulting in widespread social unrest. Food insecurity triggers the war COVID-19 that gave people common increase to men to the highest risk ever humanity. What it will be with food under stress spending can be ruled out chemical and civil war with agriculture among its early driving economies existing possibly in Southeast Asia, Middle East region, trust and space people have around both time change versus the use of friends to deploy atomic bombs. Well, it is remote of refugees being favored because of the USCIS food insecurity are often used in bombs. Next off, Canada context the 50 United States and all the territories also guarantee a request and president of the United States are published to manually remember to the United States against sustainable development goals. Direct itself get better and McDonough. So I do for housing costs and our sustainable solution to New York Times and for the organization find emergency shelter recognition the right to mitigate homeless providing a safe net. The Mueller approach indicates that the U.S. is not fully compliant with obligations made by international instruments, possible to partial legally non-coordinated approach rights to shelter increase accountability and how to be able to claim the rights. The use could be given by realigning the international interest. So state to action for the house tonight around the use of non necessary legal frames for agriculture not localized and partly import guidelines used and reluctant to federal courts get a direct effect to legally binding treaty. State constitution provide a legal foundation for the right to housing, which provide pathways for the use of uphold the international limits to be normal provides states will be state constitution has our interpretation of fundamental rights absent from the constitution easier for nature's allocation critical resources through the action of the call on authorities to have the action state legislation helps all rights based freedom for state running constitutional right and present day implement chapter except to human rights state law states for international norms law and the advanced civil administrative efficiency state courts use appropriate to resolve housing disputes with local law for state courts applying relevant judicial law to a judicial rights IURD applies legal basis for state courts to resolve housing disputes. The United States means the federal government. Only federal action is topical. The U.S. doesn't mean the states. Freedom of the Supreme Court made the same critical clearly in the United States and states judicial meaning the United States will be the federal agency. This is the definition of U.S. statutes. Use code proves much today. 1. The start with definition published in the RC U.S. Code. Federal regulations within the federal register like any has to have legal effect without such publishing. No penalties can be imposed. The term United States means federal government, not the 50 states. So do common interpretations include a 10 takes or common English. The term United States means our nation, which acts as a federal form of government. The dictionary definition is consistent with our common understanding of the Constitution of Regional Colony 87. The term United States refers to confederacy rather than several states. Every reference to the United States in the Constitution is a federal government powers delegated to the use or state. Prefer for limit subset of any United States government is a limit statute that can progress into any subset of governmental actors could be basis individual states, regional or native tribes. It's dropped the debater if they contest it because it's a fundamental baseline for debatability. Use of major topic is a yes no question. If you can be really topical and 2 reasonable limits or true judgment raise one question orientation. No RBI is 1 first one to do voluntary which goes on the medication. 2 is occurs of being simple. 1 is supposed to be used in 3 law you should being used. Also 3 the second sentence of the counter plan is a separate claim. 1 next up. Right to housing entails an extension of the right to dignity. 2 warrants. 1 is legally international court cases preserved indispensable. 1 other Qatar. 20 Market States housing courts is independent part of ensuring dignity and inevitably implicates dignity of different homes for to keep self and dignity demonstrates interconnected rights and the norms of relationship between the rights of the rights are equal, indivisible. 2 normatively achieving house requires the close extension of dignity. Usually 19 special rules on anti-housing outlets and referring within the human right to housing actors for the right to housing includes recognizing the inherent dignity of providing right to make extension of dignity-based rights is double-edged sword, which result in present return of Obamacare risk of victim constitutional like guard obstruction like dignity relief result because finds the last link to determine the to track down progressive legislation. Libertarian primarily includes like a case argued that among Mateo may a constitutional validating by the health principles. They say that the practice have used any terms on interest with their conducting the class repeal of what here misways public health con 16 new disease or laws and absent medical infrastructure require access to health care effectiveness depends on whether they're adults. Sometimes not access level of risk arbitrary contract increased of underrunals without preparedness, cardiac preparedness, diseases cause extinction, diabetes 21, most random something exists in the human race, virus, pathogens, that disarm of bacteria, hard rebels, was chemical federal infection, cause and complex development disease with complete judgmental relation to human race. Taste, heck. They don't give me 1 year terminal, they make a decision to read what they rated and the one I see any new 1 year one and specify say by no decline impact or no decline impact, while 29 extraordinary can apply the likelihood of work from the cause of development. One using except for recession, 520 word, one and like 100 recession requires what they would recognize last 5, 6 national words, they believe they can run to gripping no matter what a country's economic condition will like or well as I think they still lose more probability of success from renovation for us to start considering not economic gain. Also worse, if it's takes believe about the primary shift against an economic condition only one factor among many or more than the most significant to large lasting negative effect on the company not effect on reward. Decline is inevitable. That's Fraser 22. Contradiction of liberal hegemony that drive use for plus collision amongst these of justified intervention claims to a little uncertainty for application. The second one is that the liberal defense must lead to super rental assist microcell. During the convention, the findings of like mission use must liberal artists justification military power will extend or change measure that habitual work action on the instruction please use which against a nation that they use to drive by universal lies as a solution like the most costly foreign policy miscalculation measure against American benevolence has been hemorrhaging credibility. Hypocrisy of the LIO is not study and development decades of intervention in the West African land make love nation deeply scope the use of riches increase in the rejected attempts on military dominance as we move towards the multipolar system hard to become hard to ignore global order based on international rules compiled use strategy. Hegemony fails and undermines regional security for Asian war and active Paul Jackson will succeed. If your primacy world wants us to regional stability, the least thinking today, the US the global power has emerged new weapons to resist culture and Biden military buildings that may change heading with local Asian presidents or regional training soon requires Biden they choose the Indians original factor war loss of US primacy in the Pacific weaken US interests and system there for China will repent and use the leadership of the global order ambition the global economy to some training based on China strategy will not work. More organizations national arts also on some discussion to armament Asian peace mass military empathy is right side instability each state adopt aligned interpretations of intentions actual operation rising military accession Pacific power training use effort to monitor regional stability because it breaks the economic structure playing a vital role in preventing war. Chinese-led order prevents great power war, meaning 22 Russia's invasion of Ukraine, invasion, incubation, because the Russia's response to Chinese invasion. G. As the powerful larger transmission will the United States cooperation could be forgotten. Now, Utah practices strong leverage to negotiate, leads more dangerous divide world. She unlikely to change and lose the U.S. has no interest reaching accommodations in international world. The United States wanted partial liberal has to offer states to try taking that order diplomacy leads to trafficated world. SDGs already read no impact decline. SDGs are bad and unsustainable. Developed nations offer ecological impacts to developing nations and focus on development goals to look at 20 countries with the highest part of environmentally unsustainable countries. SDGs include retrofits, ecological impacts, all swamp countries for one, so long as cars like look at sustainable environment. 17 SG totally belongs to single return not come out looking clean. This is logically they have often most polluting industries of the global south, shifting the problem of deforestation or fish to 400% get purchase. When I see Hippocampus says that they need a public commitment, yeah, obviously it doesn't reach that which is the massive cost of the don't publicly signal through they can't shift perception. US hegemony, or actually I read that. Even if they're correct about revisionism, their reform is not actually that's fine.
Okay, good for pass.
Yeah.
What was the last card you got?
It was just the last card on SDGs.
Okay. What was the stuff about like perception?
The argument is that the app does not change perception of anything because the first part of the app says you need a public commitment from Biden, which the app does not.
Okay. What evidence have you read that China respects like a global order?
We've read evidence that the demanding evidence, I guess, if you want a quick answer, I can explain it if you want. Obviously.
Sure.
Yeah, so the argument is that first we want to claim that retrenchment is already taking place. Biden pulling out of Afghanistan is, I think, our most primest example of it. We think that a China-led order is sufficient because China is not like status seeking. They're not status seeking, they're status denying. The argument is that the United States' ability, the United States antagonizing China is what leads to kind of wars with China, which is what your 1AC evidence it describes. We've read newer evidence that indicates that that's untrue.
Okay, the property rights stuff, how does the affirmative justify evictions, moratoriums? Like the advantage talks about like zoning regulations, stuff like that.
I mean, the plan would be a positive right. Our argument is that positive rights lead to government trips, eviction moratoriums. Like, that's not our
Wait, how
argument.
does a positive right cause eviction moratoriums?
So a positive right is when the government gives, like a positive right is when the government, in the context of the 1AC, guarantees the right to housing. Our argument is that that justifies further, like the eviction moratorium stuff is not about positive rights. That's our uniqueness argument about what eviction moratoriums prove. Our argument is that property owners have no incentive to develop if they believe the government can steal property. Or can take property.
Why would the government steal property under the affirmative?
Yeah,
It's like building new houses.
What?
Like if the
So yeah, the build new houses argument that you'll, like, the one year will make doesn't make sense because even if the government has the ability to build new houses, our link is perception based to some degree. We have two aspects of the link, but one of which is perception based, which is even the possibility of eviction moratoriums is what causes declines in like property building.
Okay, what's the net benefit to the state's counterplan?
Farm bill, or sorry, where is it? we've read an argument that the technical solves the F better than the case because the case leads to issues with localized municipalities, etc.
Okay.
Yeah.
The stuff about like the third off, like what is the link to the affirmative?
The argument is that right to housing entails extension of dignity. I can explain why if you want.
But like, why does dignity prevent repeal Obamacare?
So the idea is that with dignity, it basically comes on this idea that one should have autonomy to purchase the things that they want. So Republicans could say we should not be forced by healthcare, which would lead to the repeal of Obamacare.
Okay. Why does that like spill over into like other issues?
What do you mean why?
Like, why does like guaranteeing the right to housing like make dignity like spill up into like other issues such as Obamacare?
Sure. So it's more that that the extension of dignity itself is something that gets like normalized within the United States because the act is an extension of dignity. Our argument is that that hasn't happened yet because, well, nothing's been passed, but the act would be the first instance of that.
That's fine. I'll take crap. Oh, what's the status of the current condition? Okay, I have 1 minute left. I'll send out the doc. Okay, the order is going to be the SDGs advantage. Actually, wait, scratch the SDG stuff. It's just going to be the economy advantage, the property rights dissad, the state's counterplan, the dignity dissad, and then the second K.
I'm ready. Sorry. Case, then what?
Property rights,
Okay.
states, dignity, the critique.
Okay.
Okay.
I'm good.
I just need
going to concede there's no impact. We don't sell the STD we don't sell the STD advantage to the economy advantage. They didn't answer the transition wars argument. You conceded that quick piece of evidence in the 180 which specifically talks about how the U.S. had ordered prevented civil wars among different countries to prevent China from exploiting interdependence. China wants to take over the LAO and it was revenge. Meaning that we read the grant's evidence specifically talking about how she wants to take over civilization as granted and as grand ambitions and wants to overthrow the United States, meaning that there's no cooperative order under China, a Chinese system of governance that has U.S. hedge Brazilian level security alliances such as China and Russia came here to U.S. with national province, other kind of all the courageous competitive states who use interest for cooperation, what is your representatives of the UN, all the cooperation brains of those connection Greek tools, promising understanding with the U.S. Republic because overall logic, the work between countries and between with the United States and Russia, or the U.S. and Russia conduct some compared to the U.S. These informants have repeatedly found self-organizing very parts of your position, right? Such a border, the U.S. has over 60 years, personally has you had to actually skip that carbon reduction policy bad evidence of Japanese over in favor of programmatic stations into one by term of cancer reject look at national responsibility security with the you of programmatic bills and chief for instead of global security programmatic changes that has the beginning will posture be seen for such a quality on for turning point of regular everyone lunchman over it to response with the point of God that proves that solves that proves that solves like Chinese multilateral order etc. The stuff about Asia war the stuff about Asia war the evidence specifically talks about how countries have to work with the US on ordering that they don't deliver things to security guarantees depend etc. Self-proliferation and it means the other countries can do whatever they want because they're no longer deterred with the United States, meaning that it doesn't matter we're going to concede or the stuff on property rights. Not unique linked to any systems for property rights for granting carbon developers from building up their property. That's in 1990, which is imperative zoning small farms are required acreage of declining food not facility using that higher land prices, but challenge for making acres subdivisions and formal sales burden, high resources burden, purpose you want to build commerce and sellers serving as in word and distribution. So as a form says for itself well that as you know exclusive rate houses full weight, limited zoning goals that doesn't require vision board for this specifically says but does that hurt supply like regulation private housing, not part of the rate housing because it has affordability, the rate housing is fully exclusive reservation and design reserve part of the house over quite rate housing would positive rate conservation would be negative. Like this everything was about who eviction moratoriums, also who wanted we see the eviction moratoriums that actually just care really be to do more than affordable housing. The state's counterplan permitted the counterplan and the federal law permitted both the shields links despite actually scratch the first term permitted both the shields link permitted both cancelled variation of implementations adaptable existing for mandates includes nationwide road zoning reform OCCA and federal color trying to do if it has to play central commercial land is under the government of Utah, Idaho, Arizona, Colorado, Wyoming, California, Montana, went through all global land management, the along the state of South Africa, not a federal lands agency study in Cape lands agency of all areas, led federal reform facility for houses by federal workers, no ways of presenting state level federal land promising to housing workers under pressure that you can decide there's no reason for such exposed for other countries. They also cancel disease in other countries. Only governance can mean safe affirmatives is necessary to solve this disease doesn't cause extinction. Long let's cause 20,000 cause extinction 20,000 years without being surveyed the basis raceless low has agriculture have not composed only extinction of majority animal species only mammals have right native only because of scientific humans geographic for example a diverse people's response to connected sleep using with this word low violence to meditation sanitation limit damage COVID proves that it doesn't cause extinction and countermeasures check the cycle okay with your affirmative consequences justified rhetoric so they're inextricably tied anything else boosts the affirmative and justifies in a word picks concussion turning education only refinement allows the alternative skill and determine the practical impact of politics cases of dissent the cases of dissent to the alternative the links proof the case rejection of US growth and the military and dismantles economy and governance causing extinction in China war would affirm to the affirmative and reject colonialism and other answers affirm to both the alternative self-colonialism and the affirmative where it fails to solve the links ontology air progress non travel exclusion act was a dollar general proves that movements against neoliberalism is now and invite travel ontologies wrong ontologies proofs create a pessimism capturing the case state action is key 11 20 pessimism shot the state is unfitting demeans indigenous this is demeans indigenous agency or organization to discrimination decolonization use together indigenous self-determination all these writers reject policies UND RIP and inhibit indigenous overseas structures United considering against people in objects convening against people that poses with the state birth these best changes states are not going to be able on their own. The last card was Lightfoot 20. It was cut at on their own or like changes on their own.
Any reasons to reject the team?
No.
Dignity DA arguments are 1, no reason it spills over, 2, only government solves pandemics, 3, disease doesn't cause extinction, right?
Yeah.
Cool. Are we using, sorry, I'm gonna stop here. Are we using 4 or 5 of red?
I did 4.
Cool. The order is dignity DA in the case.
Okay. No new cards, right?
No, there are. Are you fine if I put them in the body of the email?
Yeah.
Cool.
Sorry, what's the order?
Dignity case. It's just 10-minute questions. Okay, it has been sent. On the case, head advantage, the SDGs advantage, and then the hedge advantage.
Case SDGs Econ.
Yeah.
Or sorry, or Dignity SDGs Econ.
Mhm.
Cool. I'm good when everyone else is.
Anyone not good?
I mean, I prefer to use red at doc, but that's fine.
Yeah, I just
I'm ready.
Alright, cool.
insert grumpy shaking hand at Cloud about it, but it's whatever. Let's just go.
They kind of plan not going for it, concede the permutation, the DA or the property rights DA not going for it. I'll answer the straight turn here. They don't get it. I'll concede the no link argument that they read, which is the thumper, which takes it out independently. The uniqueness overwhelms. They've dropped their uniqueness evidence that property rights are strong in status quo. The 1 year uniqueness evidence doesn't say anything, just talks about agricultural rights conceding. The agricultural rights, they haven't read a uniqueness argument, that they haven't read a link turn argument that says that the plan is able to overwhelm those agricultural zoning laws that are happening in the status quo. They also haven't read that those are destroying property rights or that they contribute to agricultural decline in status quo. Independently dropping the thumper takes it out. Stack okay, did not read it, question mark. Don't know why you answered it. The DA. Disease causes extinction. It outweighs in terms of the case. They have dropped an argument that you should filter this debate through the 1 year functionally conceding the link level of debate. A high risk of a link should mean that even if disease isn't existential, a 100% risk of a link is sufficient to vote negative. Pandemics are existential. They outweigh. In terms of the case, 1 is magnitude. They are unpredictable and cause scope for proven by COVID, which led to uninterconnected islands, i.e. Hawaii. Disease is unpredictable. No way to see it, which means that governments cannot respond to it, which I was on magnitude. 2 is time frame. They come immediate. We don't know what diseases are coming, which is proven by the diamond evidence about brand new diseases coming from new animals that are impossible to predict. The lack of prediction means that diseases are an impact filter for every other impact as they destroy global governance, which is the reason they turn the case. The ability to access the United States hegemony is reliant on the United States being a strong global leader that is able to project the ability to resolve diseases, but that is impossible, proven by COVID, because when COVID happened, the United States had one of the worst pandemic responses, which is why China began to slightly take over the LIO, which is an argument that will make a little bit more in the case, which is the reason it turns. Time frames should come first, because you can always live to fight another day. Hedge impacts are far too outdated. They've historically been denied, which means that they don't, and they also don't have impact uniqueness for these claims, which is the reason that you should prioritize disease, because you know the impact that it does have. I'll do the extension of the link when I get there. 1 year 1, no reason it spills over. You should reject. New 2 2 spin on this. They do not have a warrant for this. It was the words, no reason it spills over, not a complete argument. Even if this DA is not the best, the one in R8 was worse than the one in C. They've dropped the warrant for why it does. They've conceded that constitutionalizing dignity leads to extension of it. In other sectors, dignity is stable in the status quo, or the lack of dignity extensions is stable in the status quo, because there's never been a constitutional right that is required the extension of dignity. The plan would do that. They have conceded the Rosen evidence. When you constitutionalize a broad, an abstract concept like dignity, because of how abstract it is, it leads to more material enactments of it, because it can be interpreted in many different ways, which is exactly why conservatives use it to overturn Obamacare, because they believe that they should not be forced to purchase healthcare, so they will begin to fight in court that they should not need to, which destroys pandemic preparedness. They've dropped the con evidence that is crucial to public health, which means a conceded internal link argument should frame your ballot, because there is a 100% risk that public health is decimated. The concession of a link argument about why constitutionalizing dignity is bad is a reason that we have a 100% risk of the DA. They've dropped that the plan causes anything that requires the extension of dignity. Both the Qatar and Ayushin evidence explain that for someone to be given housing, the idea of providing someone with housing is based on the idea that they have the right to dignity, which is the reason we give them housing. To drop link argument should filter the rest of your ballot. They see only governance and solve. This is just a turns case argument. It's not a complete argument. If we win that, they can't solve the case. This is also relying on an SDGs impact that you did not extend, which means that we have turned the pandemic stuff. They say disease doesn't cause extinction. It doesn't assume new diseases that are coming in the status quo. The Diamond evidence explains that immunity is breaking our bodies because we haven't been introduced to new pathogens. The unhighlighted of their evidence suggests that new diseases do have the potential to harm, and we don't know the implications on modern humans, which is exactly our argument that modern diseases destroy responses. They say COVID proves and countermeasures, not a complete argument. COVID caused wars. Countries began to disagree with each other, even if it wasn't existential. That's because it's not a new disease. It killed a lot of people. I'll read new parts anyway, I guess. Actually, you know what? I'll read this when I get to the case. That's fine. The case. They have dropped the straight turn on advantage too. This was not just defense. You have conceded that SDGs not only fail, but require increased global warming. The 1NC Hickel evidence is good on this question. It's actually one of the best pieces of evidence in this round. Our argument is that when you begin to focus on SDGs, countries like the United States and countries in the North are able to are able to offshore impacts like global warming. None of the SDGs, the 17 SDGs that their evidence defends in the context of the United Nations, are about climate change or ecological sustainability. The vast majority are about other things, which means countries can prioritize focusing on those external things in offshore climate change to countries in the global south. Our argument is that exacerbates climate change because it gives countries in the global north, i.e. the United States and great powers, the ability to neglect climate change and actually important ecological sustainability in favor of focusing on other SDGs. They have entailed an extension of SDGs. Our argument is that the SDG index does not evaluate ecological sustainability as an important factor, which is a reason that countries will not care about climate change in a world of the affirmative because they don't need to re-high on the SDG index. They do not get to de-link out of this because the plan is about the UN index, which means you've just conceded a straight turn. Climate change is existential. It independently turns the affirmative because it means that it independently turns the affirmative because their ability to access their hedge impacts is reliant on the United States interacting with the global south or interacting with lower resource nations to provide for things like climate change. Our argument is that these nations in the global south would be just totally destroyed because they will bear the burdens of climate change, whereas great powers are able to use it as an excuse to obviate climate change, which turns their hedge impacts, and it means that they cannot solve any of hedge. Independently, there's no decline. Independently, the hedge impact proper. We're not going to go for an impact turn, but we will win that. We'll win it. Actually, yeah, we won't go for an impact turn proper, but we'll win that they don't resolve their term, that hegemony is not a terminal impact. They've read unique terms as sustainable in the status quo. There's no reason that the app is uniquely key. The winner did not extend a uniqueness argument, which means that you should err negative on this question. Chinese-led international order is far better. The Manning evidence was not answered particularly well. Our argument is that China is status denial, not status seeking, or that China does not seek to neglect you, to seek to oppose U.S. power. They want to be treated on an equal level, which is our argument that United States hegemony is declining in the status quo because of the attempts to sort of disagree with China. They've functionally conceded the Asia war scenario. The Jackson evidence explains that the United States has forced nations in Asia to choose between China and the United States, which has begun to alienate Asian nations, which is the reason that they no longer view the United States as a sufficient leader of the liberal international order. China solves because the only reason that they are quote-unquote status seeking in the status quo is because they believe that the United States is alienating them, which should be framed by the retrenchment already happening argument. They have dropped decline is they functionally conceded decline is inevitable. Our Fraser evidence postdates any piece of 1NC evidence and concludes that pulling out of Afghanistan and the ability to not deal with security threats are reasons that hegemony is dying. I don't need to win any of this though. They dropped a term that terms the other impact. That
Okay.
terms hegemony.
I have 1 minute left. is going to be the SDGs advantage, the Econ advantage, and then the dignity disadvantage. Is everything good?
One side.
Sorry, can I actually do it one more time?
Okay, SDGs, Econ, and then dignity.
I'm good whenever.
Same.
Other analysis on SDGs about how SDGs were bad or great, but we conceded in the one area that the United States has to pledge stuff, meaning that the affirmative doesn't actually solve for SDGs, so there's actually no link to the turn anyways, and it doesn't matter. The stuff about US interacting with the global south to provide things, we read evidence talking about how the United States economy is specifically key, not about interacting with other countries, which are going to be the other advantage. The affirmative is necessary for good growth. They didn't concede the link, being that if it wouldn't risk of an impact, then it should be sufficient to outweigh the disadvantage. This is around this is a question of whether or not our impact always intrinsic the disadvantage or not, or our impact outweighs the disadvantage or not. Because they also conceded that the affirmative, they also concede the plan is necessary to boost growth. The growth is necessary to solve Chinese escalation. Things like they conceded the grand evidence from the 1EC, and you also conceded the Beckley evidence from the 1EC, specifically talking about how economic China wants to overthrow the United States in the global order, and the strong economy is necessary for military might, etc. Military might, deterring China and sanctions, etc. Which prevents China from exploiting interdependence on exploiting U.S. dependence on China and preventing existential transition wars. This is a dropped impact in the winter, meaning that this is a dropped impact. The Beckley card was dropped from both speeches, and meaning that we have a scenario for short-term escalation that their evidence doesn't account for. Now we're going to answer their arguments here. The Chinese order is better stuff. Chinese order is better stuff. They talk about how it's not seeking down revisions. No, our evidence is far better. The brand's evidence specifically cites G talking about how they have talking about how they have grand ambitions and want to overthrow the United States. Actions such as the brand's evidence also says actions such as militarization of the SES, etc., which proves that China wants to overtake the United States. It wants to overthrow the United States, and it wants to break down the global order, meaning that the affirmative is necessary to run this. You say pragmatic, you say decline is inevitable, and post their evidence. No, we read evidence, and like you say things like Afghanistan flood, etc. No, our evidence in the one area, our evidence in the one areas of the Shriffinson evidence talks about how Biden is prioritizing pragmatic restraint over liberal hegemony, which means that they're focusing on their efforts on the economy and soft power, etc., instead of military might, which means that Afghanistan was a move toward U.S. hegemony, not against it, and U.S. hegemony is not actually declining because we're shifting to other measures such as economy, etc., which is necessary to deter China, the pandemic stuff. The Saturman evidence on the 1EC proves that U.S. governance is necessary for making other countries like follow the United States, and it enforces and it allows for cooperation to solve pandemics. This is the only way that we can spill over, which is a trend to this. Even if you don't bet that our impact is great, there are other analyses hypothetical ways. The Beckley evidence that we read about short-term escalation following economic decline is concrete insights empirics. Their evidence is hypothetical and doesn't account for biology. Hosted evidence talks about how without being exterminated, the base risk is low and outbreaks have not come close. The bubonic plague had 50,000 deaths, meaning that their evidence is empirically denied and independently. The hosted evidence talks about how interconnectedness increases immunity by including exposure to low valence strains that provide cost immunity to prevent this. And COVID proves that sanitation checks. Good debate. I cannot believe I answered it off that was read, not read in the 1EC again. Actually, it's so annoying.
In front of me twice this tournament, Ethan. I'm not angry. I am disappointed.